What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IHE TV. Sorry for missing the last week of uploads. I've been pretty consistent since the summer, but my granddad passed away, so I needed a week. In the meantime, all's fair is all the rage. The new Disney show, or I guess Hulu show I watched on Disney Plus because I thought it looked so awesome. So it's interesting with these bandwagon hate shows. Like, I'm kind of interested in what's really bad about it, not just the fact that Kim Kardashian is in it, not that that helps the show at all, but what in the DNA of this has gone so wrong? What is so bad about it? Because don't get me wrong, this is atrocious. This is confusing in many ways and shocking from a base level that it was even put together or conceived. And I just want to know, like, what they thought they were going to achieve with this. So I'll be talking about the first 3 episodes that are out at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to watch them all, maybe. One thing I've never really revealed online is that I do have a weird fascination with the Kardashians, especially now that they're reaching like middle-aged and they're doing everything in their power to try and hide the inevitability of getting old, and how that manifests as far as like, what's the best way I can illustrate this? Oh, I know. Yeah, if you've seen Brazil, this is just all I can think about when like I think about the Kardashians. Make sure you watch Brazil, by the way. If you watch my stuff and haven't seen this, you need to get on that. But point being, Kim Kardashian kind of represents this grotesque LA excess where everything's about success, but the success isn't really attributed to anything or mean anything, or her contributions to this world are so vapid, and it just feels like success for the sake of success, and that feeds into all's fair as far as the heart of what it's trying to communicate as a show or a story or a vibe or character. And speaking of characters, Ryan Murphy penned this. Someone I don't think I've talked about online before, but I've seen a bunch of his work. Most people know him for Glee or Nip Tuck or American Horror Story. I haven't seen Glee or Nip Tuck, but I've seen a fair few seasons of American Horror Story. I don't really like it. It's kind of held up by a bunch of great actors who just kind of carry, especially those early seasons. But I'd find, as far as like writing quality, it would throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and by the time the season is over, because it's an anthology thing and won't pick up any threads that it puts down, it often just wouldn't know how to wrap up a series in a satisfying way. And of course, recently, I guess, like, just everything is now just true crime. Everyone is true crime. Everything that's being made is true crime. It's all anyone gives a shit about is true crime. The pretty insulting and I don't use this lightly, like, it's pretty offensive, like, what they do with this monster show. Like, all the gruesome stuff and horror elements in American Horror Story, even if they are referencing real things, it tends to be a bit more fictional and over the top, but there's just something corny and exploitative about taking sexy Evan Peters and making the Netflix show. And I don't know, it's just, I did watch the one with Evan Peters and thought it was exploitative and gross and unnecessary, let alone this latest season, which I've only seen snippets of, but they're like forming the serial killer Avengers, basically. And I'm not joking. So Ryan Murphy, I guess, gets to own Netflix and Hulu. He's getting money from all the biggest companies. And this show is so ridiculously out of touch. I think it wants to be a comedy with serious elements. It wants that tone where it can be funny and silly, and it's so slay. Everyone's just so slay, and they're changing outfits in every scene, and it's just, God, don't you just want to be them? Aren't you just jealous of them and their jewelry and how rich they are? And look at their penthouses and their cars, and they're all having IVF so they can keep their bodies intact. And it's just a world that by default I find, I keep using this word grotesque, but that is what it is. And when you actually look at the cast on paper, like, here we go. Taking out the obvious elephant in the room, that being Kim Kardashian, if this cast was just these other women, it would be an impressive cast that I'd like want to watch. But they chose Kim Kardashian to be the centerpiece of it, and it's kind of like a ego puff piece for her, because in real life she's studied for the bar and, like, I think failed it, but so she wants to be a lawyer. Her dad was like a famous lawyer, you know, in the fucking OJ trial. And she strikes me as someone that she's got like fingers in every single pie and has done everything and is so rich and unrelatable to an average person. And I guess because she was a small character in Ryan Murphy's later season of American Horror Story, which she was awful in too, I guess that made the connections of like, I've got a great idea. Let's put this lawyer show together and make it just totally girl boss. But yeah, she's the main character, so she has to not only do comedic scenes, but dramatic scenes. She's got to cry and she's got to act like a human being, basically, which is quite difficult for her. Like, the only time I've ever seen her be sincerely well, I guess it's not even sincerely funny. It was her being sincere and it was ironically funny, was her cringeworthy clip of her talking about how one just needs to get up and work.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
Fuck off. The first piece of trivia on IMDb, if real, says Ryan Murphy used a piece of wood as a stand-in for Kim Kardashian. And I think he forgot to replace the piece of wood because, she's an utter charisma vacuum. She just doesn't get it. And you can tell with the way the show is edited where you do have these pros, like a Naomi Watts or Glenn Close, who they're delivering their lines and the writing is bad. The lines they are saying are terrible. But at least they can deliver them without having to, cut every 2 seconds and, stitch together a bunch of different takes, which they often have to do with Kim Kardashian because she's so naturally atrocious at acting, I guess, and has zero screen presence and is one of those people that when you put them in a movie or a TV show or whatever, they're always just going to be Kim Kardashian. It's not like these other actors who play characters, like Sarah Paulson, who's in a lot of American Horror Story. Whenever she plays somebody, she has range as an actor, so they'll have a different vibe to them, different moods and types of people, doing her job as an actor. Where there's just something gross about Kim Kardashian using her status and fame to just kind of hijack this show, and there's so many other people that could have done a better job. Not that I think the same script would miraculously be better if she wasn't in it, but it would help, I guess. It wouldn't be as bad. I'm jumping all over the place because this basically just every single element is completely wrong. So yeah, going back to the tone or what it's trying to accomplish, it is trying to be girl boss, slay, these are powerful women lawyers doing their thing. Bit of a creature of the week structure where it's all these women that are looking for divorce lawyers, and because they're all disgustingly rich, it's all these powerful people, and they all look like they dress like Dracula, and they kind of all look like the villains in Hunger Games, which certainly helps with how out of touch it feels. So it's trying to kind of be funny and have attitude, but also get real when the relationship drama comes home, because outside of the creature of the week, smaller cases that are sprinkled throughout the 3 episodes, the main overarching plot is that Kim Kardashian herself is getting a divorce with her boy toy football player husband who's been cheating on her with Tiana Taylor, who was interesting because she's in one of the best films of the year, and I guess one of the worst shows of the year so far. The only ones who are really nailing the more comedic tone to me were, is that Niecy Nash Betts and Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson is kind of like the villain. She has beef with all these other lawyers who have this firm together. She's so over the top that it's kind of entertaining. And Nash Betts actually is able to deliver the comedy. It almost feels like she should be the main character because she actually has a screen presence and is delivering something humorous. But yeah, it's completely tonally just fucked. Reinforced by the first episode is directed by Ryan Murphy himself, and the direction of this show is spectacularly bad. First off, it has this energy to the camera work that just doesn't make sense for the actual content of the writing. It doesn't complement or enforce anything. There's just always this motion, and it feels manic and frenetic, and they'll randomly just use handheld for a scene, and then these big sweeping camera motions for something that just doesn't really make sense to emphasize in that way. It just feels flashy, key jangly, just for the sake of it. It almost seems especially in scenes with Kim Kardashian, that they know how flat and shit it is, and they need some way to distract. They need to pump some energy into it, some kind of presence, but it just utterly falls flat on its face. Which isn't helped by the music choice, where they basically play chill beats to relax to in every scene. It's really weird. It's YouTube background music highlights every single scene. It's so bizarre. And there really isn't any immediacy or hook to the story until the Kim Kardashian divorce stuff starts getting into place, because otherwise the actual structure of it jumps around these cases constantly and just has this unearned confidence, I guess because of just who is in it. Well, you got Glenn Close and Naomi Watts, they're slay, so I guess this is just slay, right? And it's not really interested in truth. It is kind of like a hyper reality, a fantasy that they're selling, which is fine. If it was a breezy comedy, that would be one thing. But it seems to actually be wanting to make some kind of commentary on, the Jessica Simpson episode, for example. Starts delving into these heavier subjects about, the pressure, especially in LA, to get a bunch of surgery, in this case, to please a man who's, bullying her. Her asshole husband, who's a pop star and is mean to her. And the show just kind of paints everyone with such a broad, simplistic, black and white brush that it's not interesting on a dramatic level. And it's not funny on a humorous, punchy setup and punchline level either. So then it kind of falls back on kind of shocking stuff. shock humor, from cocktails to cock rings. There's a really frustrating case that they cover where they're humiliating this guy who they find out goes to a dominatrix regularly, and they're all in this office like talking about this humiliating picture and this evidence they have of him, talking about the piggy titty drinking. I'm not joking. It's got this whole like build up, which makes you think they're gonna like show something maybe shocking. But then the like scene just ends and it's like, what? You cowards. So you can't like show anything. You can only talk about it and flex these designer brands that I guess people care about for some reason. I did make notes for this, but I just kind of stopped after the first episode because it's just the same thing, like constantly. And there's not really much to indulge in or say after a certain point. It's just, it doesn't know what it is or what it wants to be, and it's just sandbagged from the get-go, with the main character being fucking Kim Kardashian. Like, what do you expect is gonna happen? Not that it's really hurt the show particularly. I think it's one of Hulu's biggest shows at this point. It's going for the classic hate watch angle. I would love to know if there are interviews of like Ryan Murphy and Kim Kardashian talking about this in some form, one way or another, because I'd like to try and find out the root of the truth of this, like how much of an ego project it is, how much they are just laundering money. Who knows at this point? The economics of it just make no sense to me. Because yeah, when you read things like this, if they're true, I don't know where this stuff comes from, but the production budget was around $69.7 million and the series received about $14 million in tax credits from the Californian Film Commission. And the show only comes across as glossy and expensive because of that cast and all the designer jewelry and clothing that are constantly on display, and they're like changing outfits every single cut, it feels. Yeah, there it is. Series has delivered Hulu's original's biggest scripted series premiere in 3 years, amassing 3.2 million views globally after 3 days of streaming. Don't know if they'll stick around, but who knows really. They've made, what, like 58 seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians? I don't know if they're going to be able to keep, like, Naomi Watts and Glenn Close for multiple seasons of this. I just don't know what they're picturing with this. Do they want it to be like a 50-season Creature of the Week? There's a new embarrassing guy that wants a divorce thing, and it's going to be like a cameo actor. Because there's a weird moment in, I think it's the first episode, it's kind of blurred into one. But Harry Morgan from Dexter, where is he? Yeah, there he is, James Remar, who's just been in everything lately. He's in Dexter, Welcome to Derry, and now this bullshit. But he plays a nasty husband who's upset that his wife cheated on him, and she's kind of justified to cheat on him because, I didn't write the exact quote down, but she says something like, "You don't look at me like the way you used to look at me anymore, but I do like your taste in jewelry. Slay." It's like, okay, it's not really interested in anything beyond a surface level, because seeing Ed O'Neill there is when they start introducing some male characters that aren't just comically mustache-twirlingly evil, where he's Glenn Close's ill husband, and Naomi Watts also has a little bit of a story with her boyfriend of 2 years who she's having commitment issues with, but he's not a mustache-twirling monster. Yeah, it's the most melodramatic thing possible. And I don't know, I wasn't really bored. It's kind of fun to hate watch, but also it'd be equally as entertaining to just hear someone rag on it. Yeah, I'm just going to continue to reiterate that I just feel like the money being moved around for this streaming shit is just so suspicious and weird, and like, if they were actually audited, what it would look like, what they're actually spending this money on? Because yeah, they're in like expensive locations, and they're jumping from New York to LA, and there's all these big names. But what it actually comes together to make in totality is like legendarily atrocious. So let me know your thoughts if you want to check this out. No promises, I might make it to the end and do another video, but I somehow doubt that by the 9 episodes being over, that there will be much more going on, or even that much more to comment on, unless it somehow gets funnier or dumber with the melodrama. So why don't you stop watching this video and get off your fucking ass and work, god damn it.